I'm Shannon.
And I'm Holly, and this is a Girls Gone Curious podcast, where we talk about things that make us curious. So grab your favorite drink, sit back, and relax, because your show is loading. Today's episode includes the following trigger warnings: mentioning topics of body dismemberment, descriptions of bodily harm, death of a child, and murder. This podcast is not suitable for children. Please listen with care. This is part 21 of 50 States, 50 Cases. Today we will be covering the states South Dakota and Tennessee. We apologize if we say any of the names or places wrong in today's cases.
Today's first case takes place in the state of South Dakota. This is the case of the Mathis family murders. LaDonna was born on October 8, 1950, to parents Lorenz and Evelyn Gerlaw. LaDonna would meet and then marry John Mathis on May 4, 1973. They would have 3 sons, Brian, Patrick, and Dwayne. Brian was born on November 19, 1976. Patrick was born on March 17, 1979, and Dwayne was born on January 1, 1981. They would move to a farm in Mount Vernon. There they would build a quiet life on the farm. However, on September 8, 1981, the family would experience great loss, and only 2 members of the family would survive. LaDonna would be 30 years old when her life was taken from her. Brian would be 4 when his life was taken from him, and Patrick was only 2 when his life was taken from him. Dwayne was 9 months old but was saved due to the fact he was at his grandparents' home when members of his family were murdered. It started out as a normal day on the farm. LaDonna was tending to the children and making the meals. John was out working on the farm. They did the daily tasks that a family does when living on a farm. The only difference that day was that the Mathis' youngest son, Dwayne, was not there. So sometime before this, the Mathis' house burnt down, and so they converted their machine shed into a temporary home until the new house could be built. The family was sleeping on cots, and both LaDonna and John didn't want Dwayne sleeping in there since he was still a baby. Dwayne was staying with LaDonna's parents during this time frame. Sometime in the early hours of the morning, John would call the sheriff's office and tell them that his family had been shot. When the police got there, they noticed that John had been shot also, but he was still alive. 3 family members of John's were dead inside the machine shed, all killed with a shotgun, it appeared. The police also noted that upon arrival, John's father, Vern Mathis, was on the property, and that the words, "Mathis sucks," Mathis was misspelled with a U instead of an I, spray painted on the barn. John would be taken to the hospital, and it is said that he told one of the EMTs that he was going to get the son of a bitch who did this. During the investigation, it was found that LaDonna had been sleeping and was shot 2 times in the head. Brian had been sleeping and was shot through the right ear. Patrick must have woken up during all of this because it was determined that he was kneeling in bed when he was shot in the left eye and then the neck. The police would interview John at the hospital, and this is the version of events he stated. He was tending to a pig on the farm when he heard a car. He went back up to the barn and noticed a masked man by the barn. The intruder and him began to fight, and the intruder's gun went off and shot John in the arm. He said he then passed out. He then said he woke up sometime around 4 a.m. and called the police. Vern at that point had come into the hospital room and dismissed the police. The police did not buy John's story. They went back to the Mathis' home to continue investigating. Additional findings in the investigation were the color of the graffiti was gold. No gold spray paint cans were found anywhere. The gun used to kill the Mathises was a Winchester Western .22 cal semi-automatic Marlin rifle that shot Super X bullets. Mathis was misspelled on the barn. The time of death for the family was around 2:34 a.m. Mathis had called his closest friend first, Deputy Kirkus, who was at home. Mathis would then call the sheriff after getting off the phone with Deputy Kirkus. Mathis's watch that he was wearing was broken, and the time on the watch was 3:25. While in the hospital, an unspent .22 cal shell was found in his pocket along with a $100 bill, so it's safe to say that robbery couldn't have been the motive. After Mathis was discharged from the hospital, the police interviewed him again. His version of events at this time was Patrick had woken him up because he had to go to the bathroom. He took him to the outhouse and then brought him back inside. On the way back inside, he had heard the pigs making weird noises and the family dog started barking. Mathis went to see what was the matter with the pigs and tied up their dog. He had heard a car, and on the way back to where his family was sleeping, he saw that lights were on. Once he got closer, he saw a masked man, and he had a shotgun. The masked intruder attacked him, and they struggled for a few. The intruder shot him, and Mathis passed out. When he woke up, he ran to check on his family and found that they had been shot. Police asked Mathis about the shell, and he stated his son Patrick found it and gave it to him. He put it in his pocket and forgot about it. He said shotgun shells are so common they can be found anywhere in the country. Police didn't believe anything Mathis was saying. They searched all over the farm for the shotgun and for the can of gold spray paint. They even went through the manure pit. Gross. I would not want to do that.
Says the one that goes shit skiing.
I haven't done that in like a long time.
Isn't it the same shit?
Yeah. The police then began looking at the odd situation that the Mathis family had been in recently. Too many close calls. There was a house fire on July 9th. This fire happened when LaDonna and the children were sleeping. LaDonna woke up around 2:30 a.m. Sound familiar? And checked for John, and he wasn't in bed. LaDonna gathered her children and went outside where John was. He said he was working on the farm. Luckily, no one was injured and there was only smoke damage done to the home. 13 days later, the house caught on fire again, and this time the house burned to the ground. No one was injured. This was ruled an electrical fire. The family was then staying in the machine shed until their home could be built. Then in September, 3 of Mathis's family were killed. Police looked into life insurance policies, but there weren't any. Police went around town asking about the Mathis family and to all of the neighbors. No one said anything bad about the family. There were some that said John was very quiet but a hard worker. LaDonna loved her children and the life they had. No one really believed that a father could kill his own children. The police seized shotguns from neighbors and sent them to be tested, and all of them came back negative for a match to the spent shells they had. Police then asked Mathis to help them by reenacting what he said happened on the farm. He said no, hired an attorney, and quit cooperating with the police. Sheriff Swenson even reached out to a well-known psychic, Dorothy Allison from New Jersey. Dorothy is well known for helping police with other cases. Dorothy said that she wasn't able to say much, but that the person responsible had a capital M in their name. And she gave the sheriff a sequence of numbers, but that she didn't know what they meant or what they were for. The numbers, in the order she gave, were the license plate numbers of John Mathis's truck. With all avenues exhausted, police decided they had enough circumstantial evidence to grant a grand jury investigation. The biggest piece of evidence was the unspent shell that Mathis had in his pocket on the day of the murders. On October 30th, a formal indictment was put on Mathis for 3 counts of murder, and if he was found guilty, the death penalty would be sought. Mathis's attorney, due to the nature of the crimes and the small town that they lived in, asked for the location of the trial to be moved. He did not believe his client would get a fair trial. His request was granted, and the trial was moved 100 miles away to Yankton, South Dakota. The defense would argue that there was no problems in the Mathis' marriage. Mathis was incapable of killing his children, and that he wasn't clever enough to misspell his last name on the barn to try to throw off the police. The prosecution would argue that Mathis had tried to get rid of his family twice before, but was unsuccessful, so he came up with the plan of the masked intruder to get rid of them. Kim Tatum would testify for the prosecution. Kim was a teenage neighbor who would babysit for the Mathis' family sometimes. Kim explained that she had told her mom she didn't want to babysit for the family anymore because Mr. Mathis was always trying to kiss and fondle her. Mathis had told Kim that he wished he had met her before he started courting his wife. Kim's mother called John and told him if he ever touched her daughter again, she would tell LaDonna. Gun experts were called to the stand. It was explained that it was possible for John Mathis to shoot himself with the rifle. They testified that if he had used his right hand to shoot his left arm, the wound was in the exact location of impact. They also explained that where he got shot is the least damaging to the body. Jewelers would also testify regarding the broken watch. They explained that the amount of damage done to the watch would indicate it was smashed multiple times. The prosecution would state that Mathis had no marks on his wrist at the hospital and noted that the time of the watch was well after what Mathis had reported. Mathis' time frame was that he was up at 2 a.m. and after being shot himself woke up around 4 a.m., but the time on the watch read 3:25. The family's time of death was at 2:30 a.m. No blood was found on property besides in the shed where the family was, but Mathis said he was struggling with the intruder outside and was shot outside. Blood was not found anywhere else. Defense stated that the spray paint can was never found, no gun was ever found, and Mathis' hands were checked for recently fired gun residue, and it was negative. Then stated that if he wanted to get rid of his entire family, why would he do it on a night where there were only 3 at home? Why wouldn't he wait until Dwayne was home too and then carry out this supposed plan? The defense also restated that gun shells could be found anywhere in the country. It was that common. The prosecution would state that Mathis was wearing gloves and that he then wouldn't have gun residue on his hands. One of the days of trial, a couple of members of the jury were walking outside of the courthouse and a spent shell was found on the sidewalk. The prosecution stated that there was tampering happening. That is pretty convenient.
Mm-hmm.
On May 12th, 1989, after 3 days of deliberating, the jury came back with a not guilty verdict on all 3 counts of murder. When the jury was asked after the trial, some of them stated that the gun shell found on the sidewalk did sway their thinking some. Some of the juries also stated that they believed Mathis was capable of murdering his family, but the state didn't prove it. From the date of the murders until this day, LaDonna's parents had Dwayne. By law, since Mathis was his legal guardian, they had to give Dwayne back. They were worried that Mathis was going to kill their grandson once he was back with him. Dwayne went back to the farm with his father. Mathis built another home on the land, and that's where they stayed. Mathis refused to let LaDonna's parents see their grandson. He said that he was worried that if he did, they would take off with him. The Mathises would become known as recluses. They hardly ever went into town and didn't talk to anyone when they did. Mathis was not a popular man before his family was murdered, but afterwards he wasn't liked because he began shooting all of the dogs that wandered onto his property.
What the fuck?
Yeah. In the 90s, Mathis would sell his farmland and move away to another farm in another town. Dwayne would decide to keep the house and live there. It wasn't until Dwayne was in his 30s that he would decide to give an interview. He stated that his dad was a hard ass and they worked long hours on the farm. He didn't believe his dad was capable of killing anyone and believed he was innocent. He believed that since his dad raised him by himself, that meant his dad was innocent. Dwayne had served in the National Guard for 6 years. During that time, he did a tour in Iraq. Dwayne and his girlfriend still live in the farmhouse at the time and were expecting their first child. The Mathis family murders are still unsolved and are an open case. John Mathis can never be charged with the murders of his family, even if the murder weapon is found. This is because of the double jeopardy law. If you do not know, the double jeopardy law prevents people from being prosecuted with the same crime twice. This is to say, against the same individual. So because Mathis was found not guilty of murdering members of his family, he can't be charged again for those particular crimes with his family. The court reporter, Gary Lutgen, was interviewed regarding the trial. He said that he remembers it was a very difficult case. Everyone at one point or another during the trial had cried. He said the judge, the attorneys, jury members, and himself all cried. So there was a lot of holes in this case, and I think that definitely was an advantage to John Mathis.
Yeah, I have to agree. There's a lot of questions and just things that don't line up.
Yeah. One question I had was, did Vern help his son cover up the murders, or did he kill them himself? So the way it looked is that Vern was already there at the house, at the property, when the police showed up. So the police either thought that he was already there, or he arrived at the same time as the police, but like right before the police. So John actually had to have called him before calling the police.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he called his good friend before calling the police as well. So it kind of seems like he called his dad, and then his friend, and then the sheriff.
Personally, I would call probably an ambulance first.
Yeah. And I'm thinking small town, might not remember the main line for the sheriff's department, so he calls his best friend he calls his good friend, who's at home, and maybe his friend talks him down and is like, hey, you need to call the sheriff like right now. But then again, there's all kinds of what ifs with that particular situation. So there is a lake close by, Lake Mitchell. Did Mathis go to the lake, shoot himself there, get rid of the weapon, and then head back home? This all happening while he was supposedly passed out. So the problem with that is there was no blood in the truck. They said they searched the whole property. I'm assuming during the investigation, they also searched the truck. But I don't know what John took to the hospital. Like, did he take his truck, or did his dad, or, I don't know. I'm assuming the truck was looked at.
That was kind of one of my questions was John said he passed out, and it had to be about an hour, if not more.
Yeah.
And could he have gotten rid of the paint can, the gun, the bullets, except for the one in his pocket?
Yeah.
And got rid of evidence, shot himself, and then did it somewhere off the property, not even necessarily taking the car. I mean, he could probably walk somewhere.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. An hour is enough time to do a lot of things.
And he could have buried it somewhere, too. I mean, I don't know how much acres they had. Yeah,
it didn't say how many acres, or at least I didn't find any information on how big the property was.
And I don't know if there's a bunch of woods, or you said there's a lake, but I mean, there's so many possibilities and ways that he could have gotten rid of that stuff.
Yeah.
Now, why he would keep one bullet in his pocket, unless that's the bullet that he shot himself with.
Yeah. Well, they said it was unspent, so that means that it was still...
it was still...
Still had its goodies in it.
So it was still an active bullet.
Yeah.
That's weird that he would have just a random bullet in his pocket.
And he said it was because his son found it. And I guess I saw one story that said that there was I don't know if it was a vet, but somebody had come out to look at the pigs, and he had a shotgun. And so John was trying to say that the shells fell out of that guy's pocket, and then Patrick found it. and he gave it to his dad, and so he put it in his pocket. I don't believe that. I don't know. It just seems, I don't know. It just seems off to me.
To me, it's weird to find a bullet that hasn't been used.
Mm-hmm.
I understand seeing shells.
Yeah.
When I lived out in the country,
mm-hmm.
I mean, it wasn't country, but it was a little bit of country.
Mm-hmm.
I seen shells everywhere,
yeah.
but that's also because my dad was shooting, and
mm-hmm.
I like shooting and
mm-hmm.
all of that. But even where we weren't shooting, I walk around or
mm-hmm.
ride around on bikes, whatever, and I would come across spent shells all the time.
To speak on that, it's interesting that there was one at the courthouse.
Yeah.
So that was, I mean, it is a small town.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has guns, this whole thing. So it's understandable that it could happen, but it was just.
But the thing is, going to a courthouse,
mm-hmm.
are you going to have bullets and guns on you?
Yeah.
Do they even
I don't think you're going to have a shotgun on you.
No.
I think they might be able to see that, but.
Yeah. I feel like that's probably planted.
Mm-hmm. So through all the evidence that was gathered by the police, no other evidence pointed to another suspect. No one mentioned anything about anyone having a grudge against the Mathis family. I mean, there was the Tatum family. They had a reason for what Mathis had done to their daughter, but not sure their family would have come over and killed Mathis's family for revenge. If anything, they probably would have just killed John.
Yeah.
Not the wife and 2 children.
Mm-hmm.
So going off of the, just a stranger showed up, why would someone go to a random house out in the middle of farm country in a small town, kill a family, and then spray paint the family's last name?
Yeah.
On the shed. How did they know their last name if it was random?
Mm-hmm.
I don't buy that for a second.
It's a small town, so
mm-hmm.
if you knew the Mathis family, I'm betting you most likely knew how to spell it.
Right. Such I just don't. There's a lot of things that just aren't adding up, and that was just one of the other things.
One of the things I wrote down was weird equals John.
Yeah.
Something's not right there.
I mean, that was actually something, how he was described. At one point when he was interviewed by the press, Mathis said that he was doing everything he could to help. The problem with this is by that time, hadn't he told police he was done cooperating with them? How is that helping find your family's killer?
Yeah, when the police asked, can you reenact
mm-hmm.
what went down so we can kind of,
mm-hmm.
which I understand, to get like an idea of what
mm-hmm.
really happened, to try to look maybe in places
mm-hmm.
that they didn't look.
Yeah.
But as soon as they asked that, he's like, no,
mm-hmm.
hired attorney, and then
mm-hmm.
stopped talking to the police.
Yep. And I also understand, I can understand. So if he was, if they didn't believe that, if his defense team didn't believe that he was intelligent enough to misspell Mathis on the barn, how would he be intelligent enough to state, no, we're not going to reenact it because there's a possibility that I'm going to
fuck it up.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't think he is I think he's more intelligent than what he's being given credit for sure.
Did it say how the first fire started?
I checked and it didn't say. I believe it was an electrical fire as well. It didn't give any details, and I think it might be because of the time frame it was, but and I don't want to think like this, but it's very hard because, true crime girlies that we are, it just seems very odd, and very coincidental. 2 fires in July, and then 3 family members end up dead in September. Mm-hmm. And both of the house fires were, in the middle of the night. Mm-hmm. So it just...
and John was nowhere.
Yeah, he was outside. And I understand farm work. You have to get up early. You have to be, it is back-breaking work. I understand that completely. But it's happening at the same time, and it's when his family is, I don't know. It just... all of them were around 2:30.
Yes.
2:30. So it's just way too coincidental for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, another thing is John changing his story, too.
He did, and it was just the little change.
Little bit.
But he did change it.
That little bit is a lot.
Yeah.
At least personally, I feel like it's a lot.
Yeah.
Because wouldn't you remember the day that your family just got?
Yeah.
I mean, I get probably some people might have trauma and they might not be able to process it and all that, but it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. And the one thing I didn't understand either, so his watch looked like it had been smashed in. Not because he was rolling around fighting with the intruder. He had no marks anywhere else on his body. He only had the mark from his, where he was shot. And then his watch was broken. But there was no markings anywhere on his wrists, on his arms, and other spots. There was nothing on his head or neck. So
how did his watch get fucking smashed in?
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
So I can see where if you're fighting with somebody and your watch is going to get damaged. But the way it's described is like a hammer was taken to it or something. That's the, or something like that. Or a bigger rock to smash it in pretty good. That's what I'm thinking.
And if that did happen, there would be marks around your wrist or something.
Yeah.
I can't imagine if it was an intruder that they would take the watch off, smash it, and then put it back on.
Yeah. So there's just a lot of inconsistencies, and unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on what you believe, he can't be charged again. Yeah,
that's crazy. Talking more on the watch, the fact that it was broken at the 3:23, was it?
25, yeah.
25. But his wife and kids were killed at 2:30. There's like an hour.
And he didn't wake up until 4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're telling me this intruder just chilled around until you came back to check on your family and then attacked? Yeah.
The family's time of death was ruled at between 2:30 and 2:34 a.m. So between 2:34 a.m. and 3:25 a.m. That's how long the intruder and John fought?
Yeah, if not the intruder waiting for John.
Yeah. And then the intruder smashed in his watch at exactly 3:25, and then the intruder took off, and John woke up at 4 o'clock.
Yeah. And the other thing, the intruder shot all the other family members in the head.
Yeah. So why wouldn't he have shot John in the head?
Yeah, that makes, especially if he passed out.
Yeah. Oh, it would have been, he could have shot him right then and there.
Yeah.
Again.
That makes no fucking sense.
Because why would the intruder, like you said, he shot all the other family members in the head. And once he supposedly shot John in the arm, why wouldn't he turn around and shoot him in the head?
Yeah. That makes no sense.
No witnesses, nothing. So the whole story just kind of
doesn't add up.
Yeah.
I think the last thing I really have to say is that maybe the reason why if he did this and he killed his other family members, maybe he didn't want to kill his youngest son because he was only 9 months, so he wouldn't remember anything that happened. And growing up with him, John's going to have the influence on him. So
he can raise him how he wants to.
Yeah, especially with cutting off the grandparents.
Yeah.
Or the other thing is he wasn't and didn't kill his youngest son
Mm-hmm.
because he was already kind of guilty.
Mm-hmm. And so he felt like if he did kill his youngest son, they would definitely know.
Yeah.
So now he had to raise his son because, yeah.
That's my thought process.
Mm-hmm. If anyone is interested in more information, there is a book on this case, and it's titled South Dakota's Mathis Murders, Horror in the Heartland. And it's by Noel Hamiel.
Today's second case will take place in the state of Tennessee. When Lisa Guy didn't show up for work on November 28, 2016, her co-workers began to worry. She wasn't the type of person to do a no-call, no-show. And when she didn't show up for her retirement party, her boss, Jennifer Whited, reached out to the Knox Police Department to do a welfare check. Arriving at the house owned by Joel and Lisa Guy, the first thing officers noticed was both their cars were in the driveway. Knocking on the door and stating they were the police, there was no answer. They weren't answering either of their phones. Walking around to other houses, they talked to a couple of neighbors. One of them said, "I know they were here at Thanksgiving because their son was with them." Another neighbor said she got home from the gym that day around 6 p.m. and a light was on. She figured that it was just Lisa getting ready for work. Going back to the house, police tried knocking again. No answer. Looking through the window by the front entrance, they saw a bunch of grocery bags. A lot of them had perishables in them. Things like lunch meat and ice cream. This was weird to the officers. They also heard a faint noise of a dog barking. Checking the back side of the house, there was a back door, but it was also locked. But even though it was locked, the door handle was completely missing. Officers were able to see through the tiny hole in the door. As soon as one of the officers put their face up to the door, heat was radiating from the inside. They also got a very strong smell of chemicals. Once again, they tried to yell to anyone in the house, and there was no answer. Moving to a different area, police were finally able to break into the house through the garage. Detective Steven Sanders was one of the first officers to get into the house. He said the house was ridiculously hot. Looking at the thermostat, it was up as high as it would go, being 90 degrees.
Oh my gosh.
Just like they saw from outside, there was a pile of groceries at the door. Walking around, there was dog feces everywhere. Getting to a set of stairs, police noticed brown stains on the wall and stairs. What they were assuming was blood. The further they went up the stairs, the more stains they saw. Eventually getting to the top, where there were clothes covered in blood. These clothes were cut, looking like someone cut them off somebody's body. Underneath the clothes, there was a large blood stain seeping into the floor. Not knowing what they were going to come across, officers were on high alert. They were looking for Lisa and Joel, but already seeing blood everywhere, they were also on the lookout for a suspect. Walking into one of the rooms, there was blood everywhere in this room, the biggest spot being in one corner of the room. There was an exercise machine tipped over, making it look like a struggle of some sort happened. At this point, one of the officers noticed a body part of someone lying on the floor.
What the fuck?
All officers rushed through a house sweep to make sure if anyone was alive, they could get help. The only thing alive was a dog that was locked up in one of the rooms. All the officers and the dog exited the house and began taping off the house as a crime scene. Each of the officers stood outside the home at different ends to make sure that if someone did try to escape, they wouldn't be able to. They began waiting until backup would be able to come in to do a deep search in the house. This is a side note. The dog was not injured or hurt in any way other than being locked up for however many days.
For puppers.
Yeah. Lisa Guy was born on August 8, 1916, in St. Charles Parish, Louisiana. She worked as a record keeper and secretary, as an account payable administrator for an engineering firm. She was a dedicated mother. Joel Guy was born on February 10, 1955, in Kingsport, Sullivan County, Tennessee. He worked as an engineer designer, mainly working in piping. He was a hard worker and an overall good guy. Joel and Lisa got married in 1985. In 2016, they had been married for over 31 years. Joel did have a previous marriage with 3 daughters from that marriage. Together they had a son in 1988 named Joel Michael Guy Jr. With the kids grown up and moved out, they were really looking forward to retiring. They loved to spend time outdoors and on the water. They both had a sense of humor, were kind-hearted, loving, and compassionate. Really, wherever they were together, it didn't matter what they were doing. They were just truly happy spending time together. Saying they were the love of each other's lives. They spent their whole life working and looking after their family. So they were excited to finally be able to take time and focus on themselves. Thanksgiving 2016 came around. Lisa had fall decorations up and the leaves were changing colors. She was ready for relatives and her children to come home to spend Thanksgiving together. Lisa was mainly excited that her son, Joel Jr., which I'm going to call Guy for the rest of this, was coming home. He lived over 600 miles away from Knoxville, Tennessee, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana. A couple days after Thanksgiving is when the call to the Knox Police Department came in. Officers would begin to comb through the house, documenting everything they found. They would collect anything that they thought could be used as weapons, any cash, and multiple cleaning solutions they found. This would include a highly corrosive acidic base, muriatic acid, food-grade hydrogen peroxide bleach, and liquid fire Drano, which is a solution you would pour down a drain to unclog it. I'm just putting out another warning that I'm going to be talking about body parts that were dismembered. If that is a trigger warning, please stop listening. The bathroom, which is connected to the master bedroom, contained 2 large blue plastic storage bins. These bins were filled with a chemical solution. In the solution, there was 1 human torso in each bin. Other body parts could have been in the bed as well, but I'm not 100% sure on that. The solution is believed to be an acid-like solution that can dissolve and break down bones. The body part that was found in the room with the exercise equipment was a severed hand. In the kitchen, there was a pot on the stove that was still on and cooking. When looking into it, Lisa's head was found boiling in another chemical solution.
Oh my God.
At this point, police still knew nothing. They had body parts and blood all over, but no suspect. But they did know that whoever did this was trying to get rid of the evidence. Then something happened to where the suspect had to leave the crime scene. And the police found the scene before that person was able to finish their plan. Dr. Julia Shaw, a criminal psychologist, said that dismembering sounds and feels like it's gruesome and objectively is, but subjectively, for the person doing it, basically just thinks it's a problem they have to get rid of. They no longer see them as human beings, but rather than a problem that needs to be solved. This kinda explains why the person committing it doesn't feel or sound gruesome to them. Deep searching the home. This would give police crucial evidence that would help identify the suspect. 2 grocery receipts from Walmart would be found. The first one was in the grocery bags left at the front door. The second one was in a Walmart bag upstairs with what looked like to be a bunch of medical supplies. In and around the bag, there was blood. The medical supplies included things that you would need if you seriously injured yourself. The Walmart on the receipts was located only 2 miles away from their home. Searching the timestamps on both receipts, officers went to Walmart to look at the video footage. The first one shows Lisa buying and checking out with groceries. She was wearing the clothes that were found in her home at the top of the stairs, bloody and torn. Police now know for sure that Lisa was alive on November 26 and did make it home. The second video footage showed a person with bandages around his hand buying medical stuff. On the same day, around 3:30 p.m., Guy was buying medical stuff at that Walmart. Like I mentioned earlier, Guy lived over 600 miles away. He was attending Louisiana State University, working on his undergraduate degree. He had entered and been in college since he turned 18 years old. People said he was smart, and he was planning on becoming a plastic surgeon. At the time of the crime, Guy was 28 years old. So he's been in college for 10 fucking years.
Yeah. So did he have his medical degree?
Not
No.
that I know of.
Did he have his doctorate?
No idea. Guy and his parents had a difficult relationship. He didn't really connect with his parents, and he never wanted to be home. When he was younger, he attended boarding school. His parents didn't send him there, but rather he wanted to go to boarding school himself. The main reason why Lisa was still working was because she was paying everything for Guy. She paid his rent, vehicle, car insurance, food, phone, etc. Guy never worked a day in his life. Since Lisa was retiring, she wouldn't be able to support Guy anymore. Dr. Julia Shaw said that when someone is dependent like he was, they begin to spiral, questioning, how am I going to survive? How am I going to still get the money I need? Do I start taking advantage of people around me, leading to maybe even fantasying about killing someone to obtain money? After Thanksgiving, Guy was supposed to go back home to Baton Rouge, but the Walmart footage showed otherwise. When he was checking out at the Walmart, he used the self-checkout. So police were able to get a closer look at what he was buying and what the injury looked like. As he was leaving Walmart, they were able to see him in his car, leading them to see his license plate number, being able to track his car wherever he went. They would locate him back in Baton Rouge at his apartment. Police officers in that area began surveillancing his home until Knoxville detectives could get there. When Guy was walking to his car and when he was about to get it in, police arrested him. After their arrest, police did a deep search in his apartment. They found multiple other receipts that had timestamps. 17 days before Thanksgiving, there was video footage of Guy going to Ace Hardware. While there, he bought chemicals that were found at the crime scene. This showed that what Guy was going to do was premeditated. Other video footage showed him at Home Depot in the self-checkout buying a garden hose, garden sprayer, bleach sprayer, and a regular spray bottle. And also another video, Guy going to a Walmart in Louisiana, buying the blue storage bins found in the master bedroom. Back at Lisa and Joel's home, officers found yet another damning piece of evidence. They searched a room that was believed to be one Guy used to live in and where he would stay when visiting. In the backpack, they found a laptop and a notebook. Jamie Satterfield, an investigative journalist, called it a murder book. In this notebook, it laid out that Guy wanted to render his parents' body into liquid, then dump it down the waterway before burning his family home to the ground. Some of the contents in this notebook included what he has to bring or buy, which some of them included knives, sledgehammer, blender, food grinder, etc.
What? A food grinder and a blender.
Mm-hmm. Also, the food grinder was found in his car, newly bought in when they arrested him.
So he hadn't got to that part yet?
No. What to do and what not to do. Things like flush the chunks down. Toilet, not the garbage disposable. Turn heat up as high as it goes. Speeds up decomposition process. Where to do it? At his parents' house because his DNA would already be there. Don't leave DNA, which kind of counteracts his...
Mm-hmm.
Where he would say, wear gloves and socks.
Mm-hmm.
How to clean up and get rid of all the evidence. How to start the fire. All the assets he would get with completing his plan. Life insurance. Lisa's life insurance was $50,000. Their Knoxville house, Surgeonsville house, car, and boats. Another thing written was The destruction of bodies. Composition of body: 20% fat, 20% protein, 55% water, and 5% other compounds. Many, many more writings go on for pages and pages, basically of the same stuff, explaining like all the more stuff he needed and what the chemicals he needed and all that shit. All the evidence collected, the video footage, and the murder book showed his premeditation and intent to kill his parents. DNA would come back confirming the body parts were Joel and Lisa Guy. Guy was arrested on November 29th, 2016, and was charged with first-degree murder and abuse of a corpse. His defense team wanted to go the insanity plea route, but Guy found this very offensive, thinking they thought he wasn't smart enough to pull it off. In the beginning, he pled not guilty, but at some point he filed for a motion seeking the death penalty if he is found convicted. His defense team refused to file it themselves, so Guy took it in his own hands to file it. Prosecutors said they weren't seeking the death penalty regardless of what Guy wanted. At the trial, the events of the crime were revealed. Guy killed his father, Joel, first. He wanted to get rid of his father because he was a bigger and more of a threat. While Lisa was out shopping, it is believed that Joel was working out when Guy attacked him. There was a struggle between them, ending with Joel dead and Guy injured. Joel had 42 stab wounds, and he was dismembered at the hips, elbows, and hands. Once Lisa got home with groceries, it is believed she was lured up the stairs by Guy. He would attack her as soon as she reached the landing. She was stabbed 31 times and dismembered at the kneecaps, and also decapitated. It is believed that the reason for dismemberment and decapitation was to be able to render the body and fit it into the blue bins. Basically make it easier for him to get rid of it. Guy's plan didn't go according to plan. Because his father fought back, Guy was injured. He had to stop in the middle of his work to seek medical attention. He traveled all the way back to Louisiana to go to a hospital there. Police were thinking he maybe did this to seem like he had an alibi. When he eventually came back, police were already investigating the crime scene, making him turn around and head back to Louisiana, where he would be later arrested. The reasoning behind why Guy did all this was simple: money. But the police did find another reason, an emotional reason. Guy was homosexual, and at one point he was dating a man named Michael McCracken. They were no longer together, but Guy desperately wanted to be with him. In jail, Guy called Michael, saying, "So I have been in love with you since we first met 12 years ago, and I always got insanely jealous, and became blatantly obvious that I didn't meet any of the criteria. There has never been any question about that, physically speaking. You know, I could get bariatric surgery. I could get cheek face implants to make me facial bone structure so that I wouldn't have that round thing, as you call it. That was just that. Just sorts of been a wild fantasy of mine. We generally had a very, very realistic chance of being happy if I got around to doing it. Michael would reply with, I don't know what to say. I'm angry and lost and confused and disappointed and upset and mourning you like you're dead, even though I'm talking to you on the phone. It's taken everything I have to process and maintain my sanity. So basically, Guy killed his family not only for money, but to be able to use that money to make himself look better, so he could be with someone who didn't like how he looked now. In 2020, Guy was sentenced to life in prison on 2 counts of first-degree murder, 3 counts of felony murder, and 2 counts of abuse of a corpse. He received 2 life sentences plus 4 years. He is currently at the Northwest Correctional Complex in Tiptonville, Tennessee. Guy is eligible for parole in 130 years. Jamie, the journalist, said, what was particularly disturbing when you look at that murder book is that when he is seated at the family table on Thanksgiving and he's being friendly and loving on his family, all the while his instruction manual for killing his parents is up there in his bedroom, and they had no idea. It was said that normally Guy would keep to himself and stay in his room, not spending time with his family during the holidays. But this Thanksgiving, he was unusually talkative. He seemed happy and was spending a lot of time with other family members, including playing and giving toys to his cousins, which was very out of the ordinary. This just shows how fucked up this case is and how fucked up Guy is.
Mm-hmm.
Lisa Guy was only 55, and Joel Guy was only 61 when they were both brutally killed by their own son, never being able to enjoy retirement or being able to spend their time doing the things they loved. I don't really have any questions for this, but I do have one thing that I wanted to mention.
Mm-hmm.
His defense team tried to claim that since he was so happy leading up to the tragedy, there was no way he planned the murder. There's literally fucking evidence showing.
Mm-hmm. There's lots of people who are happy leading up to the murder. Look at one of the cases we just covered with the kids killing the parents and siblings. That kid was smiling from ear to ear. He was so happy with what he did.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, he was probably happy because he thought he was coming into money.
Mm-hmm.
So he could get his surgery or whatever and then go live a happy ever after with a guy.
Yeah.
Fucking bullshit. This case enrages me.
Yeah, this is disgusting. I do have to say, I did like how the prosecution handled not giving Guy what he wanted. Like, no, you're not getting the death penalty. You're going to rot in prison.
Mm-hmm. Well, the prosecutor said even if it wasn't filed, they were still not going to do the death penalty.
Yeah.
So it really didn't matter if Guy did.
Yeah, want it or not.
Well, luckily he didn't get what he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
The only other question I had was, how long did it say, like, how long he was planning it, or, like, because this is in detail, and this is, like,
yeah. I don't know when it began coming into plan. I know it was at least 17 days before Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Because that's when he went to Ace Hardware and got the chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
So at least 17 days before Thanksgiving.
So I wonder if the police checked his search history.
Yeah. He thought he was smart, but he's not smart.
Mm-mm. That is fucked up. That is fucked up.
I don't really know how to feel. I just feel anger, disgust.
You had stated that Joel had 3 daughters from a previous marriage, right?
Yes.
So hopefully everything went to those kiddos.
Mm-hmm.
There is no way I would want to burn that house or destroy it. Yes. I would not want. That is absolutely horrendous. Like, there wasn't, even if you had like the best memories, the most wonderful childhood memories that you could ever hope for, it's all ruined by this person.
Yeah, the amount of torture that he put them through.
Yeah.
I just hope that, it's horrible to say, but I hope when he was dismembering them, they were
already gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is so horrible to even have to think about or mention.
Yeah. Our hearts go out to the victims in both cases and all individuals affected. With that is all we have for today. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions or comments, you can find us on Spotify and Instagram at GirlsGoneCuriousPodcast. Until next time.